Welcome back to our baking channel, Baking with Chef Tonde. We're gonna take it from where we left it yesterday in the last episode, to say, where we were showcasing the ingredients, the use, why you use certain ingredients is over others, and what apparatus and tools you need to make your perfect product, in this case a perfect scone. So today we're gonna be mixing scones, which is another very important part of the baking process. The mixing is very important. It's about timing, about measurements, and about a good sense of knowledge, we can say. You must know why you are doing this and not doing the other things. So today we're gonna continue from there. So we have, like from yesterday, we say I presented to you everything that we need, which are 6 main ingredients, and for the sake of efficiency, I measured already all the ingredients that are needed, and I tried by all means to make smaller quantities so that every household, everyone who wish to try, you don't need to, or it mustn't be so expensive for you to do the scones. I tried by all means to be economical, to say. So I have my scale here as usual, the most important part, the most important apparatus, and I have my bowl here. I'm gonna be mixing in this bowl, and I have my flour, I have my eggs, I have my sugar, I have my palette knife, I have my butter, I have my baking powder, not bicarbonate of soda. Then I have my cutters, my milk, and my scoop with another flour. This is just for dusting. When you are working, you must be prepared to get your hands dirty, but it's nice dirty, it's not that other dirty. And a hand whisk, if you don't have a machine like this one, you can always use a hand whisk. So for me here, it's easier and very efficient for me to use my electrical whisk. Yeah, so I will just connect it, just to be ready. I'll just connect it. There we go. It's on already. Yes. So I will set it aside. So when you are mixing your scones, it's only 2 stages that are very critical when you are mixing. So you have to separate your solid ingredients, which is the flour. In this case, we're gonna be using 600 grams of flour versus all the other ingredients. So when this is over, when we are finished baking, you can request the recipe in the comment section. Then we will send the recipe direct to you into your inbox. So we have our flour. It's 600 grams of flour that we're going to be using to make our. We're going to see how many we get, how many scones we get from 600 grams. But it all depends with your cutters. If you have a bigger cutter, you get less quantity. When you use a smaller one, you have more obvious quantity in numbers. So what you do, you start mixing the liquids together. So in this case, I don't have the liquids. Why? I don't want to use oil. So the only liquid I have is eggs. So I will take my eggs, 2 eggs versus 600 grams of flour. There is an action. So in this case, my flour is cake flour. So some of you guys who are watching, you might have access to self-rising flour. The difference is the baking powder. So for you to make your plain flour to self-rising, you just add your baking powder. It's now self-rising flour. That's all. That's the difference. So it's 600 grams of flour. Then you mix with the what can you say, with the 40 grams of baking powder. So 600 versus 40 grams of baking powder, then it's self-raising flour. So others, you might need to sieve it. You might need to use a sieve. I think we have one somewhere, a sieve, but I can always show you as we go. A sieve, then you mix it together, then it's self-raising now. So if you have self-raising flour, you will just have to say 600 grams of flour plus 40. So when you have access to self-raising flour, you just scale 640 grams because there is baking powder already in the self-raising flour. So here is our dry ingredients, which is flour and baking powder, which is our self-raising flour now. So the first stage, you need to take eggs. Your sugar is 100 grams. Your eggs is 2 eggs, which is equal also to 100 mils or 100 grams, because the eggs is a liquid, so it's 100 mils also, which is mostly is 2 normal size eggs, which is 50 gram an egg, 50 gram an egg, which makes it 100 grams. Then the sugar, 100 grams. Then the butter. Me, I use butter. It's pure butter. It must be 100 also. So the first 3 ingredients is sugar, your butter, and your eggs. All of them must be equal. So if you use 200, you will have to scale again. You use simple proportion. It's mathematical now, but it's doable. Any layman can do it. It's something that anyone can do. So this is 100 grams of sugar, 100 grams of 100 mils eggs, which is 2 eggs, and 100 grams of butter. Then what you do, you whip the 3 together. This is the first stage. You whip the 3 together until it's fluffy. So we're gonna whip it. You can whip, let's say, for a minute to a minute and a half, stuff like that, or until it's fluffy. You can see the texture. It's getting there. For a minute to a minute and a half. Go. It's a minute and a half now. I remove this. I don't need it anymore because I just wanted to whip my eggs. Then there is our whipped eggs, butter and sugar. So you just whip it until it's fluffy, or until you can't feel the sugar, until the sugar dissolves. Then the next stage, you take your flour and your baking powder, which is self-raising flour. There we go. Good. Put it away. Next stage, it's mixing. You mix until all the dusty flour is gone. You mix, you mix, you mix. You can use a mixing bowl, of which we have, but I don't prefer a mixing bowl when I'm making scones, because I discovered that when you use a machine, you miss some finer details that you need to have your product to come out very nice. So you mix until all the dusty settles. The flour until it's not dusty. So it's just to put that first mixture into the flour. It will be rough, but it's something that can be done with patience, passion, love, and just the drive. That's all what you need. There we go. The dusty is gone. So even if you raise like this, the dusty is gone. You can even now you can see it's not dusty anymore. It's well mixed. So with the yellow like is the butter and the eggs, it's making it yellow like. So you can feel it. There is our mix. So when it's done like this, you can rub it so that everything is well mixed together with the butter. Then after this now, that's when you take your liquid ingredient, the third one, the last one is the milk. So the milk, you need 240 mils of milk. So be it full cream like what I explained in the last episode. You can use sour milk, coconut milk, fresh milk. Like in this case I use fresh milk. You can use others, they prefer to use yogurt. You can use yogurt, that's another thing, but that's being fancy and it's optional. It's not a must, but the must have is milk. So if you want a certain flavor that you want, then you can use yogurt. Others can use yogurt. So we have to scale. I like to use a scale for my liquids. There is a reason for that, and the reason is very scientific. Because of these things of density and stuff like that. So, but I prefer to use a scale. So I put my jug, measuring jug, I tear it. Never skip the tearing. To tear it is to put it on 0. When you put your measuring thing on top, you put it on 0. That's tearing. If you miss that, it will mislead you, the scale, because it will take the wrong measurements. Then it will make everything wrong that you do. So we put our milk, must be 240 versus 600 grams of flour, 40 grams of baking powder, 2 eggs, 100 grams butter, 100 grams sugar. Then we have our milk. which is 240. Then we put it inside. We mix again. We mix again until we have our perfect dough for our scrumptious scones. Scrumptious scones. It's easy. It's easy, it's doable, and I enjoy doing this, by the way. I enjoy doing this. And your scones, you mustn't overmix. That's the other thing. That's the other secret. That's why I prefer to use hands, because I can see, I can feel the texture. I can feel the texture with my hands, but the machine now, sometimes you miss the finer details, what I said. So, I prefer to mix this, because I can feel my dough. I can feel everything, the finer details. I won't miss anything. There we go. We will get there. We will have our perfect scone, which Chef told it on the mix. There we go. It mustn't be that fine. It must just be rough a little bit. Because if it's too fine, it means you have done away with the fluffiness. You mustn't even expect it to be fluffy, because if it's rough like this, it means there is room for expansion, there is aeration. We allow air to go in and it will be fluffy, because if you overmix it, it won't be fluffy. Then from now, we have our dough now, so we have to set it. So we use that dusting flour for dusting. Then must be prepared to be dirty. There is our dough. We dust it. So we have to fold this dough and let it rest just a little bit before we start cutting. So you fold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's folding. We dust. You must enjoy working with flour. You must enjoy the flour. Then we have our roller pin. The purpose is so you just use it like this, the rolling pin, just to take out the excess air from there. You need the air, but not too much in your dough. The dough must still have room to rise, so that it will be fluffy. You give that baking powder room to work, because that's the raising agent that we have in this. Remember, we have a lot of raising agencies when you are baking. So in this case, we are using baking powder as our raising agent. And when you are making breads, you use the raising agent as the yeast is your raising agent. And when you are making sour breads, you use natural yeast that you manufacture on your own. We're gonna be doing all that, how to manufacture yeast, how to then you let